Welcome back. President Trump is making yet another attempt at curtailing a key part of the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship. He signed 2 executive orders just yesterday limiting who is eligible for automatic citizenship under the Constitution. So it specifically seeks to deny citizenship to children born to foreign diplomatic staff, those born in U.S. territories, and children born to mothers who come to the U.S. for the sole purpose of giving birth, so-called birth tourism, which, by the way, is already illegal. In June, though, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected Trump's previous order to end birthright citizenship for almost all children born to non-U.S. citizens. So let's talk more about this with Veronica Cardenas, a former assistant chief counsel for ICE and reporter for the AP, Jack Brooke. Thank you both for joining us on this very important topic. Veronica, you know, these executive orders, again, introduced yesterday and signed yesterday, will likely get challenged in court. But the Supreme Court, as I mentioned, just rejected a broader birthright citizenship executive order Trump signed on day 1 of this second term. So does making these new orders more specific change its legality overall?
Thank you, Britt. And this is the long run. This administration is playing the long run in this birthright citizenship saga. And so what Trump versus Barbara gave the executive administration was a litmus test to see where the justices stood on these issues. And it was a 5-4 decision. So 4 justices believe that Congress has the authority to change who qualifies as a citizen. And I think that one of the decisions that they're really looking at was Alito's dissent in this idea of loyalty and allegiance. And that's why they're going after this birth tourism, so to speak, where there isn't any data on whether this is even a problem. It's just that the administration wants to use this to really chip this iceberg of who qualifies for birthright citizenship and the idea that a person has to be loyal to the United States, because that is really what is at issue here. So while this will be challenged, I think they're getting closer to what will Congress draft as birthright citizenship and what will the Supreme Court tolerate here.
So it's sort of going to come from both sides, it seems. Jack, let's talk about the numbers and evidence to back these claims about birth tourism. But first, I want to play some sound from the president talking about birthright citizenship yesterday.
This was for the babies of slaves. And what's happening now, people are building businesses around it. From wealthy people are building businesses around birthright citizenship. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's a disgrace. They're buying their way in.
So is this a big issue, as the president is making it out to be?
Well, I would say I'd turn that back to you. I would like to talk about the reporting that the AP did on the widespread detention of military spouses and parents.
Yeah, we can talk about that as well. I just wanted to get your take on that sound, if you had any opinion.
Yeah, I would want to refrain from giving my opinion on that, but I turn that one back to you.
All right, sure. We can move on to your reporting. It was pretty profound here. You found basically that some of these spouses and family members of service members right now are being deported or detained?
Yes. So our reporting identified more than 50 cases where active duty U.S. military service members had parents or spouses detained, and in at least 6 cases deported. And experts say this marked a long-standing departure from long-standing bipartisan consensus that deporting immediate family members is detrimental to military preparedness.
Talk about that a little bit more. How would that undermine the preparedness of the military? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so we spoke to numerous soldiers who told us that, you know, when they have their wife or their husband or parent detained, you know, they've had to take leave of their duties, which could include training other troops or, you know, people who are scheduled for deployment are now having to take leave so that they can be there to care for their child or, you know, support their spouse's legal case. So, you know, troops are not able to concentrate on their mission.
And who did you talk to? Were you able to speak to any service members about how they feel about, their spouses and family members being deported?
Yes. So we spoke to numerous U.S. military service members, and all of them expressed, feeling that, they had been, providing service to their country. They had, been trying to carry out their duties. And, some of them felt that they had been betrayed. Military recruiters continue to promise that enlistment can, be a way to protect your family members. And what they found is that, that's not happening in their case. Their spouse or their parent is being detained.
Veronica, what do you make of this? As Jack was saying, these families are usually shielded from these sort of detentions, and ICE is the agency behind it.
Right. And it is really bad policy. Just because the government can do something doesn't mean it should. And at the very crux of keeping our nation safe are military service members. And a lot of them are first generation. They're married to non-citizens. Their parents are non-citizens. And it's really important that when they are serving our country, when they're deployed, that they do not have to worry about also litigating whether their parents should be removed or whether their spouse should be removed. And when I was with the administration, there was a policy decision not to enforce immigration laws. There's something called parole in place where service members and families get a different type of preference when their child or their spouse are applying for their benefits to become lawful permanent residents. That has been delayed. We've seen those take so much longer. We've also seen this administration make the choice to put those family members into immigration proceedings. We've read these stories, and it is a really bad policy decision, and it really is going to trickle down to who is going to fight for our nation.
And to Jack's point, these service members feel betrayed. Veronica Cardenas and Jack Brook, I want to thank you both for your time today and your perspective.